Not my choice in tunes, but we can work with it. Hi. I'm Brad Chamaleo. I like Star Wars and long walks on the beach. Filling in for Ed Fallon today on the Fallon Forum, here on FallonForum.com and WebcastOneLive.com. Ed is on his way to New York City, home of many mediocre salsa makers, from what I hear. And the birthday party for Occupy Wall Street. So, if all goes according to plan, Monday at this time, you'll be hearing from Ed live from Zuccotti Park in New York City, and I just want to say thank Hades. I'm not involved in the technical details to make that happen. Good luck. But we should be able to... Go on, Ed has a Mac. You can do anything with a Mac, right? Except play games. So, Ed will be back with you on Monday to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the rise of Occupy Wall Street. And I don't know. I have a few thoughts on the issue, but we'll let Ed throw his party. Maybe I'll hit him on my own show, which normally airs 1:30 to 2:30 after the Fallon Forum. But since Ed was going to be on assignment today, he asked me to fill in. And why not do 2.5 hours? I've done it before. I will do it again. It's not that hard. The phone number is 244-0077 if you want to take part in the show. You can email me, Radio Bradshaw, just one word, Radio Bradshaw, @gmail.com, and check out my... And it's a zygote of a website. It's a work in progress. It's a transitional form. You can check out thebradshawshow.com. And it has links if you want to use the audio. Do we have Mixlr up and going? Use the audio portion of the program, which should be up here in a couple of seconds, or you probably already know the video if you want to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Radio Bradshaw. It's all there. I am a absolute feedback junkie, so send it all my way. Got a lot of stuff to get to and a lot of time to get into it today. Dan Kelly will be joining me in about 40 minutes. State Representative. I want to talk about a court decision yesterday, not in Matt Schultz's favor. Now, for those of you who listen and watch my show, you understand I am not a huge Matt Schultz fan. All right, I may occasionally question the wisdom of voters who elected a Secretary of State who ran out a jobs platform. And little Matt has felt a little left out as states across the nation have tried to institute voter ID laws. And he's like the kid growing up that didn't have the Nintendo, right? You know, Johnny's got a Nintendo, Matt's got a Nintendo, I've got a ColecoVision. He wants a Nintendo so bad. He's willing to do just about whatever. And since he can't, well, one, produce any evidence of voter fraud and get a voter ID law passed, he's done the next best thing. He doesn't quite have a Nintendo. He went to a mall kiosk and bought the, game system, right? That thing that Grandma would buy off a QVC and send to us and be like, this isn't what Thanks, Grandma. I could use the $5 that you normally send, but... So we'll talk with Dan Kelly about voter ID laws and some of the emergency measures. The emergency, of course, being that Matt Schultz doesn't have a voter ID law to pin on his resume. He's running for office, for Pete's sake. So we'll talk about that with Dan Kelly. More about the consulate attack in Benghazi, along with the embassy in Cairo. And in particular, this Sam Basile, the pseudonym behind this movie. And I don't know, it's available on YouTube. I have a short clip we'll play later. It makes Turkish Star Wars look like Bring It On. Bring It On, the Citizen Kane of cheerleading movies. Just work with me here. Roadhouse, there. How about I can name other masterpieces. So we're learning more about where this film came from. And was it a deliberate attempt to inflame? Maybe. Or more likely, is it a bunch of incompetent boobs who unwittingly handed ammunition to extremist sects who could predict the response, which not exactly rocket science, and used it as cover to attack Americans? So we'll talk about that and more. But first, actually, I need to thank Ed's sponsors, the Iowa chapter of Physicians for Social Responsibility, the Sierra Club of Iowa chapter, and the Progressive Coalition of Central Iowa, all supporters of this little project in democracy we have going on. So thanks to Ed's sponsors for, I guess, allowing me to come and take Ed's time today. The big news of the day, the news of lasting importance, as Paul Harvey used to say, is Qualitative Easement 3 is on. It's QE3, and the best way to describe, if I was pitching an ad for QE3, this one comes with a Hemi. It's got rich Corinthian leather and a Retina display. It's bigger, it's badder, it's bolder. It affects male performance, and it will have you throwing a football through a tire. Nice symbolism there. In no time. Today, the Federal Reserve announced a third round of quantitative easing. They're going to buy $85 billion in new assets, including $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities every month till the end of the year. But here's where things get a little different. They have kept their commitment of priming the economic pump open-ended. Instead of putting a specific time limit on or a specific dollar amount, it is open-ended until the job situation improves. That's the important aspect. Ron Paul types might want to cover their ears for a minute. The Federal Reserve has dual mandates that sometimes are in opposition to one another. Not so much these days. If anything, you could say about the Fed is they have truly ignored the second of their mandate. Their mandates are: one, manage inflation. Set targets, hit targets. Their second is to maintain employment. Now, I would argue the last 4 years they have fallen desperately short. Ask 1,000, economists and commentators, you're going to get 1,000 different answers as to why. But while they have been incredibly successful in managing inflation in this country, almost non-existent, they haven't done much on the jobs front, and apparently that changes today. So the committee expects that a highly accommodative stance of monetary policy will remain appropriate for a considerable time after the economic recovery strengthens. Now, what this means is, typically, if you're, say, chairman of the Federal Reserve and you start to see the economy group up, you don't want to throw thermite on the fire. You don't want to, cause inflation. So you peel back in the hopes that you again have primed the pump, you've jump-started the economy that will continue to grow on its own. In this case, economic realities have set in, or political barriers have fallen. Again, this is, breaking news, and I'm sure there'll be more opinion and analysis as the day goes on. But the point being, it looks like now, at least, for the first time in a long time, the Fed is concerned about the unemployment level. This is a good thing. Again, maybe I'm the weirdo Keynesian, and I know Ed and I disagree when it comes to debt, the budget deficit, And there are times to deal with these things. In the midst of, the worst economic calamity in our lifetimes, probably not the time for it. Not the time to get your debt and deficit in order when there is real harm being done to your economy and, the people who make up your economy. This is something that, again, innumerable arguments about. As we speak, I'm sure someone is typing up a furious email comparing the federal government to a household checkbook. And again, that makes absolute legitimate sense if you believe that, for example, me getting in my car and driving home is akin to landing on the moon. Thank you, the newsroom. Point being is that for far too long, the Fed has ignored the employment mandate. And those days look to be over. They have accepted reality. With news that this might pop out today, of course, Republicans have been going nuts, more so than normal, on this issue. I appreciate Representative Raul Labrador. He is a Republican representing Idaho, a state we are confused for quite often. So it's going to show some growth in the economy, and the Obama administration is going to claim credit. Oh, well, my apologies then. I'm sorry the federal government can take part in actions that might not help the Republican Party. I understand you've been strongly against that since January 20th of 2009. And this is something maybe, those nice talking heads who want to continue to be invited back on their TV speaking, engagements don't talk about on Fox News, or God forbid anyone's watching CNN these days. And these sorts of opinions will probably get you drawn and quartered on Fox. I'll come out and say it. Since the election of President Obama, the Republican Party has been rooting against our economy. Again, I'm not talking, twirling the black mustache and, tying a Democrat damsel to some train tracks. But whether it's stimulus or stimulus 2 or even government hiring, Republicans have been an impediment all the way. It makes sense. Right now, U3, not the best unemployment number, but let's just stick with it, it's a little above 8%. This is too high. Not as bad as it was. We've seen improvement, but not enough. Not enough to kickstart the economy. Let's say the Federal Reserve had undergone a similar, we have 2 mandates, we should probably take care of both of them. A year ago, 2 years ago. What if 1 year ago, almost exactly 1 year ago, Republicans had deferred to the president? This is your policy, and darn it, we'll attack you for it if it doesn't work, but we will pass your American Jobs Act. Which again, we talked to folks at Moody's. Would add million and a half. Some estimates were, 2.5 million jobs, 2.5% GDP growth. What if, for example, aid to states had been a bigger part of the stimulus program, which was, again, far too small for the hole it was trying to fill. But let's say we didn't take a quarter of it that were turned into tax cuts in a failed effort to attract Republican votes, and said that chunk of money was aid to states so that they wouldn't have to lay off teachers, firefighters, cops, even civil servants. We are 600,000 public workers down in this country since Barack Obama was elected. Now, this came as news to Senator Rand Paul. If you don't watch the Sunday shows, I don't blame you. I like to sleep in myself, but this is why, we've created YouTube. Nobel Prize winning economist Paul Krugman is on the same panel as Rand Paul, and Rand Paul's like, "Are you trying to tell me that government employment is down?" Yes, this is a fact. Welcome to reality. Do you know where you are right now? How many fingers am I holding up? Look at growth of government. Barack Obama has grown government at the lowest rate since Eisenhower. Like, if you adjust, we'll take, and again, images at the Republican convention may have no direct connection to reality, but we'll take the image of Saint Reagan, the one that wasn't selling arms to Iran. The different Saint Reagan, the one that they want to name every school, bridge after. Air traffic control tower, do they have any of those names? Probably not. Point, if Barack Obama had just grown government at the same rate Ronald Reagan did, right? He was a strict conservative if you ignore those 11 tax increases. But let's say we name ketchup a vegetable and grow government at the same rate as Ronald Reagan, you would have 1.5 million more government workers. What does the employment situation look like then? If we had actually followed the president's policies, what would the employment situation look like? If unemployment right now is 7%, 6.5%, how does that look for Mitt Romney's chances to win the election? How does that help the Republicans make an argument for the wish that is supply-side economics? How do you win back the Senate? How do you keep the House? Again, these Republicans bashing the Fed because Obama will get credit, aren't stupid. That's a relative term sometimes, but you get what I'm saying. They understand their arguments are harder to make if this country is successful. If the economy was improving, it's harder to bash the president with the economy. It hurts their chances. Therefore, it must be stopped no matter the cost. And this is why we've seen time and time again, to the point where Republicans will vote against tax cuts. A, they can't get credit for it, and B, it might help the economy. Republicans voting against tax cuts? That'd be like Chris Christie voting against buffets. It's inconceivable. And by the way, don't try to make an argument with me that government spending doesn't create jobs. Because even Republicans, inadvertently, will admit this. Try to shut down a weapons program or maybe a program to build a jet engine that the Pentagon doesn't want. Try to shut down a military base or, close a project in a congressman's district, and they will, hair starts, standing up, flames start shooting out of the ears. The term for this, at least when it comes to defense spending, weaponized Keynesianism, and how, when it's in their district, magically this is an essential government program that absolutely must be paid for and protected against the forces of evil. And it's not, by the way, just weapons programs, although that is a favorite, kind of Republicans as a whole. Ask Chuck Grassley. Has he not been one of the loudest voices? Yes, he occasionally tweets always tweets like a 12-year-old girl. But when he does, it's usually complaining about the debt and the deficit. I must have missed Charles Grassley's complaints about the debt, for example, when he was putting together Medicare Part D. Donut hole and all. Voting for a couple wars that we're going to put on the credit card, or building a rainforest in central Iowa. forget this, defender of, the debt, procured federal money to build a rainforest in central Iowa. They couldn't find a local sucker to put his own money up. But I'm pretty sure Chuck Grassley wasn't concerned about the debt clock when he was procuring votes for that or for a farm bill. Something, it's like Night of the Comet. Remember, Matt, you ever seen Night of the Comet? Great movie. Well, okay, not a great movie, but I enjoy it. Earth passes through the tail of a comet, and everyone who was outside to see, the starburst gets turned into some sort of, flesh-eating cancer zombie. We have to chase down the high schoolers who were, necking in a theater or something. But the Earth must have passed through something on January 20th of 2009. The Republicans all of a sudden became deeply concerned with the debt and the deficit. Now, what could have happened on that date, January 20th, that would make Republicans immediately do a 180? The party of deficits don't matter. I'm Dick Cheney and I approve this message. P.S. Go bleep yourself. All of a sudden starts peacocking around deficit. Oh, that was election day. Oh, inauguration day. Oh, okay. Now it all starts to make a little sense. The one area where Republicans have influence but not control is the Federal Reserve, and it looks like today, finally, they're going to react to reality. Quantitative easement 3, an open-ended affair, not based on signs of economic growth, but actual, job market. Low interest rates through at least mid-2015. And I guess the powers of the bond vigilantes. These aren't people looking to go after British secret agents. The folks, many of whom peddle gold, which may have something to do with their arguments that hyperinflation, wheelbarrows of cash to go buy a loaf of bread are just around the corner a year later. Just around the corner a year after that. Just around the corner. And today are saying it's just around the corner. And one of these days, who knows, they might actually be right. It turns out money is incredibly cheap right now. We can actually borrow money with the slight negative return on investment for bondholders. We can borrow money for nothing. And when you have, an underemployment and unemployment and discouraged workers situation, there's 14, 15%, and has been for a while. You'd be stupid not to, or you'd be a Republican. Is that redundant? I know it's not polite, and I know it's not something that's said, around the dinner table, but Republicans have been rooting against our economy since they lost control of it. Why do you think they made such a big deal out of the Stimulus Act? Because it worked. Why do you think they blocked the American Jobs Act? Because they know it would help the economy and hurt their electoral chances. Please, someone explain to me, by the way, the argument that Mitt Romney could make. If we had 6%, 6.5% unemployment right now, what would the argument Mitt Romney would be making? Please come up with a good one. And if you can, by the way, there's probably a job for you with the Romney campaign. Based on the last 24 hours or so, they could use some good ideas. All right, the number is 244-0077. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com, and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw for all of your conversational needs. Coming up at 12:40, Dan Kelly, state representative, will join me. We'll talk about voter purges and Matt Schultz temper tantrums. I'll be back right after this on the FallonForum.com and WebcastOneLive.com. Thanks for watching.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Lucalin's Italian Grill in Ames offers one of Central Iowa's finest dining experiences. Lucalin's blends traditional Italian cuisine with American intuition, enticing hungry stomachs with a delectable spread of homemade pastas, steaks, and freshly flown-in seafood. Try the Cajun pasta, handmade lasagna, or any of Lucalin's traditional Italian dishes. So for a dining treat that's second to none, visit Lucalin's Italian Grill on Main Street in Ames.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. And he said not only would he like to be a sponsor, but he would offer a $100 tithe for every customer that came and bought a car from him directly to the church of your choice. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
There is hope. Visit groundwire.net and chat now with a live coach for answers.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 1229, Brett Joe with you here, hosting the Fallon Forum, filling in for Ed, who's on his way, I think, as we speak. He's not biking to New York, is he? As a dedicated car user. As a lot of times, like, I would be leaving work by the time Ed would be showing up. We'd pass each other, and I'd be like, having my air conditioning on, radio going. I'm like, yes, this beats pedaling. I know. Ed's a big bicycle man, but yeah, at least hopefully he can enjoy the fruits of powered travel on his way to New York. He did leave this for me. Energy conservation starts with efficiency, and efficiency starts right in your home. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions is your go-to guy for full-scale energy audits. It's best to do this before the cold weather sets in, You'll absolutely be impressed with Tim's knowledge, professionalism, and service. And what's this energy audit going to cost? Well, you pay $150 up front, and you get a $150 rebate. That's right, 150 minus 150. That's zero. Shell out $0.00 for a top-notch energy audit. They'll tell you what you need to do to save money on your home. I know Ed did one of these with his shack home base. And they go through, you can save money here. You can, get rid of this draft here. Give Tim Reynolds, not the guy with Dave Matthews, a call. 515-802-2801. 802-2801. Ask Tim about the energy audit, about the rebates, or just email reynolds.energysolutions@gmail.com. All right. 244-0077 is the phone number. Outside the metro, it's 855-244-0077. If you want to call from anywhere in the state and for some reason still have a long distance bill, we'll pick up the tab. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com, and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. We make fun of Chuck Grassley and discuss the news. It'll be interesting to see what the Republican response to this qualitative easing. Round 3. Number 2 was Electric Boogaloo. What's 3? Revenge of the Central Banker. Someone else will come with a snappy name for it. But this comes from Greg Sargent's Plumb Line today. Headline, has Obama neutralized Romney's advantage on the economy? Again, there are just some areas, and if you ever want me to do an hour on Democrats lacking a backbone, I'll do 3. Starting with Boswell, Leonard. Anyway, another time, another place. There are just some issues where Democrats have ceded ground to our friends on the right. One of those areas was national defense. And I'm not talking just Michael Dukakis in a tank of bad optics. But it's, say, what opened the door for 2004's swift boating attacks to land. Is, don't change horsemen mid-apocalypse, was the Bush argument. They're tough, Democrats aren't. That is not an area where Republicans lead now. Neither member of the Republican ticket served. Although, to be fair, Mitt Romney did spend, a couple very dangerous years during Vietnam on a Mormon mission to France. You know how sharp some of those wine and bottle openers are? I mean, that's a dangerous assignment. That also managed to get you deferment. So they're not running anyone with a service record to run on. And they're going up against the guy, who gave the order to kill bin Laden. And don't kid you, Mitt Romney loved to, anyone would have made that call. Am I the only one who remembers Operation Eagle Claw? This is what happens, by the way. If you make that call and it goes wrong, it neuters your presidency. Or spays it. We don't want to be gender, equal here. But it cuts it off at the knees. Ask Jimmy Carter what happens when you make the call and the plan, doesn't come together. Obama did. Plan worked. Bin Laden's dead. In addition, we have armies of drones flying all over. Hell, we don't even know where all of them are running. How many number 2s from Al-Qaeda have we killed off? Again, there was only one number 1. We got him, but It's innumerable. Somewhere in the 80s, I think, honestly, of all the number 2 man in Al-Qaeda. The Iraq War is coming to an end. Afghanistan has an end date. We saw Republicans tie themselves into knots, for example, over the Libya uprising. It's ground that they've ceded. Wasn't going to be a winning issue this time. If you want Barack Obama just to stand up a bunch and say, yeah, bin Laden. Yeah, bin Laden. Is bin Laden better off now than he was 4 years ago? That sort of thing. You could try to push him on it. And we saw a little bit of that freak out yesterday from the Romney campaign. We'll talk more about that. That smirk still gets me. When Mitt Romney gave his press conference, when he started to get a little pushback from reporters, he just had a way of shutting that down if it wasn't a legitimate line of conversation. But he walks off the stage, and it was, I think the AP managed to get a picture of him, like, smirking. And he's, like, smiling during this press conference. I don't know if it's, like, an uncomfortable smile or, like, a feed me a stray cat. Patrick. We'll talk about that later. The point, Republicans have lost ground. That's not their, holy territory anymore. Another area that Republicans believed they had sewn up just by divine right is the economy, right? We're the party of, business and success and private equity firms. Here's just a slew of polls. Fox News poll shows Obama and Romney tied 46-46 on who would better improve the economy and create jobs. CNN poll shows it at 1.50-49 on who would better handle the economy. Washington Post, 47-45. Rasmussen, 47-45. And that's the Republicans' go-to pollster. Who is more trusted on job creation? Here's a guy who started his campaign in Mitt Romney on, I'm a successful businessman. And if you enjoyed Wall Street, forget the original sequel. I'll be the sequel. Money never sleeps. I've made a lot of money, so I obviously know how things work. Then the Bain line of attacks and the tax returns, which, by the way, back today. I don't know if you caught this, but it was leaked or somehow disclosed that in order to be on Mitt Romney's short list, you had to provide 10 years of tax returns, as opposed to like the 1.5 that Mitt Romney's released. And for those of you who are new or Ed listeners who don't tune in on a regular basis, my guess is that Mitt Romney will never and can never release his 2009 tax returns. That was the year the IRS offered a one-time amnesty for those who might have been dodging taxes with Swiss bank accounts. Long story short, one of the largest banks in Switzerland was threatening to release its client list to relieve pressure from itself, breaking, hundreds of years of Swiss banking tradition of secrecy. Again, if you want somewhere to store your Nazi gold, Switzerland was the place to do it. With this pressure came the IRS saying, come in from the cold, literally, pay a settlement, pay your back taxes, and we'll call it good. It's the only explanation to me that makes sense. I'm sure there are some other things in there. Did Mitt Romney make a profit off the economy collapsing? Did he maybe, carry forward some losses that might have made his, tax burden freakishly low? There are others who believe that perhaps he wasn't always that 10% to the Mormon church type, and that might cost him his own planet someday. But I think the most likely reason, because think about it, if you're Mitt Romney, you're running for office for Pete's sake. When things, closed up shop in 2008, your eye was squarely on 2012. Why would you do something in the meantime that might be a hurdle, might cause you problems. You could have never in hundreds of years expected your Swiss bank account, of all things, to come back and potentially bite you in the butt. You couldn't plan for it. No one expected it. It was the Swiss version of the Spanish Inquisition. No one expected it. To me, it's the most plausible. And if you were to release that, well, yes, I'm not in jail and I came to a settlement with the IRS, but I was screwing around on my taxes. How are you? I'm Mitt Romney, and I don't necessarily approve this message, but I have to put this notice on here. Yeah, my guess is that wouldn't go over very well. Just a hunch. But in addition to national security, again, this was sacred ground that Republicans believed that only they could trot upon. We win the debate on the economy. That may not be the case. And much in the same way, after losing the national security argument, we saw the Romney display. We'll be nice. We'll call it a display yesterday. I wonder what will happen today with these numbers being out and news of QE3. All right, got to take a break. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. When we come back, Dan Kelly joins me in studio next here on the FallonForum.com and webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hello, party people. Bradshaw with you here, co-opting the Fallon Forum. Ed is on a jet plane on his way to New York City to broadcast from Zuccotti Park, technology willing. And again, as someone who has seen Ed work with technology, there will probably be a show on Monday. I may be here, or it might we'll just show this, wall for a while. Maybe put some animation back there. But my name is Bradshaw. I am filling in for Ed Fallon here on FallonForum.com. I have my own site. It's growing. It's a transitional fossil. TheBradshawShow.com, or follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Radio Bradshaw. My guest, State Representative Dan Kelly.
Yes.
And you're rocking the pink today.
I
that
am.
takes a secure man.
Yes, I'm a secure man. I'm rocking the pink and the Obama button. And
that I'm cool with.
That's absolute. Yeah.
But
you're not cool with the shirt.
No, I loved Miami Vice. That was a great show.
I loved Miami Vice too.
Who didn't?
I wish those unstructured white jackets would come back. I keep waiting
in time.
for that.
I've already seen people with the popped collars.
I think we could do without going back to the pop collar. I was never into that when I was in 8th grade anyway, so I don't think I'm going to bring that back.
Yeah, I'm waiting for slap bracelets and jelly shoes.
Everything comes back in time, but the Miami Vice jacket has not hit yet, and I cannot wait.
I saw it at the Republican convention. Shoulder pads on women's jackets.
Yeah, shoulder pads coming back.
So can the Miami Vice, jacket be that far behind?
Let's just start a call for it now.
I think we'll see
the Miami Vice
that
jacket needs to come back
before we see the members only jacket come back.
Ooh, I think that already did kind of come back. I saw a few of those. I'm not sure
that's
made a
one
full
that
comeback.
If there's somewhere people know where I could take a stake and a hammer and kill that one off for good.
Right, but not only the unstructured jacket, but the boat shoes with no socks. The deck shoes with no socks. That was a big part of the Miami Vice franchise.
Wearing Converse All-Stars with no socks, I'm not going to...
Well, it's the deck shoe. With no socks. That was Crockett and Tubbs. They knew how to dress.
If the Republicans can run Gordon Gekko for president, we can bring back Crockett and Tubbs.
Yes, we can bring that back. We can bring that back. And I have seen Ed work with technology, and it's not
pretty.
His cell phone is still one of those flip-up phones, and there is no way he could possibly read an email on his cell phone. There's no way.
He actually bought a smartphone. Maybe a year and a half ago, and got rid of it. It did too many things. And
So he does take text messages now, though.
Occasionally.
And a few years ago, I remember we were having lunch, and he said, "I don't have any use for text messages. Why does anybody send me text messages?" And I said, "Well, you're going to have to catch on to that."
It's one of those things where, you don't think it till you start to use them, and then all of a sudden...
you're in.
Your life changes. Same thing with a smartphone.
But don't text and drive.
I've had to explain to people, like with the iPad.
That's right.
You don't have a reason right now where you would want one or use one.
Once you're in, you're in.
You will find new and
so
innovative.
don't text and drive, and for Ed's case, don't ride your bicycle and drive and text. Don't ride your bike and text.
One of the things I want to talk about today, I actually would kind of want to see that maybe in a safe, controlled environment, among trained professionals.
That's right.
One of the things I want to talk about today was yesterday, a judge shooting down Matt Schultz's attempt.
Yes.
At a legal, injunction, keeping him from purging voter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And this may be, to me, the bigger of the two and more prone to abuse was changing the way people would complain about alleged voter fraud.
Wanting to make it anonymous.
Yeah, right now, if I want to claim that, you are voting illegally, I have to swear out an affidavit. And if I lie in that, I am subject to prosecution myself.
Right.
The emergency, I'm still trying to figure out what the emergency is. I think the emergency was that Matt Schultz didn't have a voter ID law to put on his future resume.
Sure.
But the emergency rules he put in place allow anyone to anonymously challenge a vote for any reason.
Yeah.
And again, not only does that open up a whole can of worms when it comes to disenfranchisement, to me also is almost an open invitation to groups like the King Street Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
For as much as Fox wanted to talk about the Black Panthers because they're black and they're scary, so we're going to put it on with Megyn Kelly all the time. Not much was made of this Tea Party group that actually had intimidation complaints filed against it, unlike the new Black Panthers. But you're almost inviting these sorts of groups to come in and play their little reindeer games and try to stifle as much of the non-white cranky vote as they can get their hands on.
I think you bring up some good points there, Bradshaw. But not only for these groups, but individuals. If you're going to file a voter fraud complaint on someone, why do it anonymously? What would be the purpose of that? You want to, if you see something wrong, what's wrong with putting your name on, calling them out? And also, if you're just doing this to suppress the vote or out of spite, we need to know who's pulling those tricks. There's no reason to file these anonymously.
No,
none whatsoever.
Unless you're, and again, I'm trying to think of a reason you would want to do this.
I tried to think of some on the drive up here. Can't come up with one.
The only thing
maybe a caller could. I don't know.
If you literally want to be sort of a death blossom, you've seen The Last Starfighter, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You want to be the death blossom of voter challenges.
Yeah, you're talking to a sci-fi guy here.
Yeah,
I get the references. Ed does not. Yeah,
shoot him in every single direction. That's the only reason I can think of to make this an anonymous process. As far as the voter purge list, and we're still not 100% sure on what list he wants to use.
Right.
But we've seen how they've been used across the country. Maybe the most famous example is Catherine Harris in Florida in 2000. And not only were all of the names on the list purged, but names that sounded like them, or maybe it was the same name with an S on it.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of misses
right
on that list. But those were people who showed up on Election Day, and it was like, what do you mean I'm not registered?
Right. Well, we need to do everything we can to make sure that everyone who is legal to vote shows up to vote, participates fully in the process.
Well,
and this is something that may, hopefully not, but may keep a few from going to the polls on Election Day or voting early by mail. And that's very, very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that this is being handled now. Why couldn't we talk about this earlier? If Matt Schultz saw an issue and thought it needed to be brought to the forefront, why are we talking about it now?
No, all these came to the front in 2010. You saw a Republican wave election. A lot of state houses flipped, and magically, from the same playbook, state after state after
and that's
state.
just unfortunate that it seems like it's part of a playbook rather than a legitimate concern.
Well, what gets me is Matt Schultz has no evidence of voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
my favorite example is he was scheduled to do an interview with Iowa Public Radio. Bailed the last minute and Mary Mossman in his place.
Right.
And was asked point blank, what examples of voter fraud do you have in the state of Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
Zip, zero, zilch, nada. Hey, look over there.
Right.
Nothing. This is a problem that doesn't exist, that we have this magic solution for that we should implement anyway, regardless of the collateral damage. And again, study after study after study shows, the poorer you are, the older you are, the more urban you are, the less likely you are to have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And a more cynical man than I might think that's the point. And whether, we see in Florida, they go and they search for voter fraud. I think they found a case of a Canadian who had registered to vote and voted.
Sure.
But you're literally more likely to be hit by lightning while winning the lottery and dating Scarlett Johansson than run across voter fraud. And we see these across the nation. Luckily, our friends down south, due to years of just being our friends down south, are no longer allowed to change voting rules on their own. This is the Voting Rights Act.
Right.
So a number of these purges have been stopped. Others have been stopped by court cases, and that was kind of what came to a head yesterday here in Iowa, as a judge ruled, no, actually, the ACLU, for example, does have grounds to sue Matt Schultz over these emergency rules. And I have no doubt after this November, we're going to see a renewed push. Again, depending on how the election turns out.
Right.
To keep this kind of, false controversy alive, and it's you guys at the State House that have to step in.
Absolutely, and I have no doubt that we're going to see this continue. Repeated attempts to suppress vote, and particularly for our immigrant populations. If someone is a legal resident of the United States and they're able to vote, let's make sure they get to the polls and that they participate in the process. What situations like this do is it often keeps people home. And that's unfortunate. And hopefully that will not be the end result of Matt Schultz's attempt here.
When this came up in the State House,
right?
When Matt Schultz was making the rounds, was your office on the list? Did he come send anyone to grab him?
I've spoken to him in the hallway, just kind of casual, hey, how you doing, sort of stuff. But no, I've never talked with him or any member of his staff about this particular issue.
I think people.
And that's unfortunate. I'd like to talk to them.
I don't think he would like to talk to you.
Well,
I think he would have strong opinions on the pink shirt and definitely the Obama-Biden button. But that state Senate right now is really our one firewall in the state. That is the reason.
Right.
Gronstal and the Democrats in the state Senate are the reason we're not Wisconsin, that we're not Michigan, that we're not Ohio, that we're not Florida.
Iowa has a good reputation for making sure that we have an effective voter system, getting people to the polls, participating. We need to keep that reputation. Really bringing this up makes us look bad, and it's just not the right time to discuss this. We should have been discussing this long ago, when if there is a problem, it could have been taken care of. Now we're looking at just less than 2 months before the election. And, the question is it right? Is it wrong to use this federal money to investigate this? Everything becomes more complex than it looks on the surface. And he should know this. Schultz should know this. And,
now you say should, but hey, in all honesty, if Matt Schultz were a more experienced and savvy politician, there's a good chance we could have a voter ID law. Even in states that have, put up a fight against them, they have passed.
Well, I voted
Probably.
against the voter ID law that was being pushed because it was clearly going to suppress votes. Particularly, I come from a district with a large senior population. Many of those folks do not have driver's license, and we need to make sure that they know they can go to the polls and they can vote. And whenever these issues come up, there are groups of folks, whether it be seniors, Latinos, what have you, who start to question, well, are they going to give me a hard time when I show up to vote this time? Maybe I'll just stay home.
A chilling factor.
Right. It's very unfortunate. It does suppress votes, and I'm very disappointed that this is happening now. If we had had this discussion earlier in the year or maybe during the legislative session, fine, let's talk about it. Let's figure out if there's a problem. Let's solve it. If there is, in fact, a problem. And I don't think there is. But this is not the right time for this discussion. We want the Latino population in Iowa to show up to participate. And obviously, I'd like to see them vote for Barack Obama. But if they choose to go another route, that is their right, and that is what they should do.
But judging by the polls, they probably won't, which is why we see such. I mean, look, the reality is John McCain lost the, Latino vote in this country. 67.
Right. Right.
2/3, and it looks like, by the way, Mitt Romney's going to come under that bar.
Right.
At least as the polling looks right now, and I don't know. Leaves
the
a bad
discussion
taste in my
we
mouth.
should have in this state is, how do we get more people to participate? How do we get more Iowans to show up and vote on Election Day? We do better, not only in Iowa, but in the Midwest than many of the regions and states in our country and in terms of voter turnout. But still, we can do better. And I'd like to see us take this from a more positive approach. What can be done to get better participation in voting? And there's lots of options we can discuss. We could talk about the possibility of voting via the internet. We could talk about possibility of
not voting by mail.
Voting, right.
Like Oregon's program.
Oregon's program is different than what we do in Iowa with early votes by mail. We do have a vote by mail program, but we could talk about expanding that. And also, how do we get people to make their decision on who they're going to vote for reasons other than these 30-second ads that go back and forth that just amount to expensive garbage. We need for our citizenry to make educated decisions based on their beliefs as to where we need to head in this state and in this country, not on all of this negative advertising garbage. It's time that we take major steps to improve our political system and in turn improve our country and move forward in a better direction. Talking with State Representative Dan Kelly, what you're talking about though when it comes to campaign ads and yes.
negative ads, at that point you're talking constitutional amendment. We've seen this with the Citizens United decision, along with, for example, the state of Montana had its own campaign, disclosure and money rules that were thrown out by the Supreme Court. Right. I mean, I think this is pretty well established at this point. That may be one route, but another route may be that the voters just start to reject some of this behavior. They just simply start to reject some of these. You are a more optimistic man than I. A more optimistic person may take that approach, and maybe I do fit into that category. I believe in the voters. I believe in Iowans, and I believe in the direction that this country needs to head, is a better system, not based on the negative garbage ads, not based on what group can suppress what group from voting. We need to take major steps, and we can start with, how do we get people to the polls on Election Day or enable them to vote early? That's the discussion we need to have, not whether or not there's so many thousand people voting illegally in Iowa. That we have no proof of, but we want to make people. And how do we further suppress that? And how do we scare folks from going to the polls because they think they're going to be harassed on Election Day, regardless of what group they may be part of, Latino, senior,
African American, whatever group we're talking about. Let's quit dividing and conquering. Let's move forward together.
Yeah, but that makes it harder for Republicans to win, so that's not going to happen. Dan Kelly, State Representative, thanks. You thought we couldn't do 20 minutes. Gotcha.
No, I was looking forward to talking to you, Bradshaw.
This is your first time in kind of my...
First time that we have ever talked about anything beyond the Batman movies.
Yeah, everything else has been, chit-chat in the hallway.
We've had some deep conversations about Batman movies. I wore my Batman watch in honor of that today.
You know what's coming out soon is the Batman, or the Dark Knight Returns.
Yes.
The animated
I hadn't
version
heard
of
that.
the seminal Frank Miller comic.
Yeah, that's a good
Not
deal.
that I would ever download it, but if you need a copy, let me know.
Certainly. I'll be downloading my copy immediately.
Don't copy that floppy, kids. And don't go anywhere, because I'm out of Ed's time. In fact, I'm out of Ed's time. Sorry, guys. They're flashing lights at me and cause a seizure or something. It's like a Pokemon episode gone bad. I want to thank Ed Fallon for letting me fill in. We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, it's, same show, but different name and better music. I didn't say that. And then with any luck, Ed will be with you on Monday Live. I don't know. Who's filling in for him?
I'm not sure.
Someone else will be here tomorrow filling in for Ed Fallon that is not myself, so it won't be as good.
I haven't been asked yet, but it may be me.
All right.
Okay.
We'll be back after this on webcast1live.com with The Bradshaw Show and thebradshawshow.com. Back after this. Thanks.